Millions could stay in their homes. That's after the CDC just issued a new eviction ban. It comes after the previous one expired over the weekend. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is feeling all the heat. His scandals are back in the public eye. He's facing calls to resign, including from President Biden. This comes after a report by the Attorney General alleged he engaged in a pattern of sexual harassment and intimidation. Cuomo has denied the allegations and refuses to step down. The director of National Institutes of Health says parents with unvaccinated children should wear masks at home. And a former Surgeon General says vaccines should be fully licensed to make them easier to mandate. This comes as a survey finds most unvaccinated Americans believe COVID-19 vaccinations are more dangerous than the disease. Tune in to Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. Let's kick off with the millions worried about the roof over their heads disappearing. There's been a lot of back and forth. They could be keeping their homes for now. The CDC just issued a new eviction ban. It comes after the previous one expired over the weekend. The CDC says evicting people could be detrimental to public health, and it will halt evictions in counties where virus cases are rising, covering 90% of the U.S. population. The CDC announced a new 60-day eviction ban Tuesday. That's a day after the White House said the agency didn't have the authority. Democrat lawmakers are praising the ban. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi tweets, "This brand new moratorium will provide time for the money allocated by Congress to flow as it helps stop the spread of the virus." Congress previously approved nearly $47 billion in housing relief. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell says it looks like the money's still in Washington or at state and local governments.
It doesn't seem to me require any additional legislative action. We need to get the money out there that's already been made available so it can solve the problem.
A study by the Aspen Institute says 6.5 million U.S. households are behind on rent, owing more than $20 billion to landlords. The National Apartment Association tweeted on Tuesday, the eviction moratorium is an unfunded government mandate that forces housing providers to deliver a costly service without compensation and saddles renters with insurmountable debt. It goes on to say it's past time for the government to enact responsible and sustainable solutions that prioritize making both renters and housing providers whole. Some are raising the question about legality. Texas Congressman Lance Gooden tweeted out, "Reminder, the CDC does not pass laws, Congress does." And President Biden said the CDC's new ban will face legal scrutiny.
The courts made it clear that the existing moratorium was not constitutional. It wouldn't stand.
But he says it would provide the time needed for emergency rental assistance to reach troubled tenants. It's unclear if the Supreme Court will view the new moratorium differently, since it's more limited. It's set to remain in effect until October 3rd. Now, speaking of facing legal scrutiny, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is feeling all the heat. His scandals are back in the public eye. He's facing calls to resign, including from President Biden. This comes after an independent months-long investigation came out. New York Attorney General Letitia James alleges Cuomo sexually harassed several current and former employees of the state.
The independent investigation has concluded that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, and in doing so violated federal and state law.
And that includes unwelcome and non-consensual touching and making offensive comments of a sexual nature, which created a hostile work environment for women. She added that Cuomo's office was filled with fear and intimidation. Biden said that the state legislature may decide to impeach Cuomo as well.
Let's take one thing at a time here. I think he should resign. I understand that the state legislature may decide to impeach. I don't know that for a fact. I've not read all that data.
And the Democrat governors of Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania released a joint statement saying they are appalled at the agency's findings and that Cuomo should resign. Cuomo released a pre-recorded video denying allegations and refusing to resign.
I want you to know directly from me that I never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. I am 63 years old. I've lived my entire adult life in public view. That is just not who I am, and that's not who I have ever been.
It also included photos of him kissing or hugging people in public to show that it's just his nature to be friendly. Biden responded to a reporter who noted that Cuomo used a picture of him embracing Biden to say these are commonplace embraces.
Look, I'm not going to flyspeck this. I'm sure there are some embraces that were totally innocent, but apparently the Attorney General decided there were things that weren't.
The mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, also called on him to resign and for him to be impeached as quickly as possible. De Blasio noted that the sexual harassment allegations are only part of the investigation out of many scandals surrounding Cuomo.
The nursing home scandal, whether the facts of all those deaths in the nursing homes due to COVID was covered up. There's a scandal around the book he wrote with the help of state employees. There's a scandal around giving out vaccine to political supporters and withholding vaccine supplies from opponents. I mean, this guy is past the point of no return. He can't govern. He just has to go.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also called on Cuomo to resign. And Schumer said no elected official is above the law.
The reported actions of the governor were profoundly disturbing, inappropriate, and completely unacceptable. Today's report from the New York State Attorney General substantiated and corroborated the allegations of the brave women who came forward to share their stories, and we commend the women for doing so.
AG James said the investigation is done and she won't be pursuing legal charges against Cuomo. If he's impeached, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul would take over. Now, staying in New York, the calls for mandatory vaccine passes have been causing quite the stir. But de Blasio is not mandating masks indoors. He said it's strongly recommended, but stopped short of a full mandate, saying that would discourage vaccination. And the question of masking up is being debated once again. The director of the National Institutes of Health says parents with unvaccinated children should wear masks at home. And a former Surgeon General says vaccines should be fully licensed to make them easier to mandate. Dr. Francis Collins directs the National Institutes of Health. He tells CNN that children should wear masks everywhere they might get infected.
Which means recommendations of mask wearing in schools and that at home. Parents of unvaccinated kids should be thoughtful about this, and the recommendation is to wear masks there as well. I know that's uncomfortable. I know it seems weird, but it is the best way to protect your kids.
Dr. Collins says the Delta variant can cause severe illness in children.
Certainly younger people are less likely to fall ill, but anybody who tries to tell you, you don't have to worry about it if you're a young, healthy person, there's many counterexamples all around us.
According to a recent study reported in the Wall Street Journal, children have an extremely low risk of severe health problems or death from the virus. And there is no evidence yet that the Delta variant has a different impact on kids. As governments in the private sector impose new vaccine mandates and passport systems, former U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams says it's important to fully license the vaccines to make them easier to mandate.
We need to get it licensed as quickly as possible, not just for hesitancy's sake, but I've talked with you about this before, because it will allow companies the legal cover to then mandate these vaccines.
Dr. Adams says the military won't mandate the vaccine until it's fully licensed. Biden administration officials have sent mixed messages recently about a national vaccine mandate. President Biden says he doesn't know if the federal government can do that. And with the recent push to get more people vaccinated, has it been working? According to a poll by Axios and Ipsos, only 1 in 3 unvaccinated Americans said they'd get the shot if their employer mandated it. And a new survey finds most unvaccinated Americans believe COVID-19 vaccinations are more dangerous than the disease. 53% of the unvaccinated people the Kaiser Family Foundation surveyed said that. 14% of the 1,500 people polled, which includes both vaccinated and unvaccinated people, said they will definitely not get vaccinated. That's the same number as back in December, despite the recent surge in new cases. Unvaccinated Americans largely believe the media has exaggerated the severity of the pandemic. They are also less likely to wear masks in public. 53% of vaccinated people reported wearing masks in grocery stores and other indoor places. 44% of unvaccinated people said they wear masks in those situations. And over in the Sunshine State, cases might be going up, but masks are staying off. Florida will not be shutting down. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis said that COVID hospitalizations in his state are lessening and that the state will not shut down. It comes as the Delta variant has caused a surge in cases across the country. And Florida had over 21,000 new cases of the virus on Saturday, which broke the state's record.
We're not shutting down. We're going to have schools open. We're protecting every Floridian's job in this state. We're protecting people's small businesses.
Health and Human Services data shows that Florida hospitals are treating over 11,000 COVID patients, with about 2,400 of them in the ICU. DeSantis said his state's hospitals are open for business and that ones in Jackson have half as many COVID patients as last year. The governor claimed that fear-mongering propagated by some media outlets led to additional harm in March 2020, and he said he doesn't want to see a repeat of that.
There was a huge decline in people who would show up to the ED. Literally, people are having heart attacks at home because they thought that there weren't either not enough room in the hospital or they thought that they would get COVID and die as a result of that. So we don't want to follow that.
This week, 409 people have died from COVID in Florida, bringing the state's death toll to over 39,000. DeSantis said the state's best defense against the virus is natural immunity that builds up over time and vaccinating vulnerable seniors first. And before we end, it's National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day. To celebrate the day, just grab some cookies, homemade or store-bought, pour a glass of milk and enjoy. According to National Day calendar, we have Ruth Graves Wakefield to thank for what some would call their favorite cookie. It dates back to 1937, when Ruth ran out of baker's chocolate. So she mixed semi-sweet chocolate chunks with sugar cookie dough, and voila, chocolate chip cookies were born. And we have been enjoying them ever since. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.